What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, August 26, 2020, middle of the weekday, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Pauhana Friday and another crazy weekend. This one, of course, dominated by Hurricane Laura, which is about to make landfall down there in Louisiana and Texas here. So we've got a lot to talk about today, and Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble. And we're going to get some news out of the way before we open up the phone lines for your comments, questions, opinions, and observations here. Hurricane Laura is expected to strike Upper Texas and Louisiana as a Category 4 hurricane. They've been saying Category 3 all day long, but then at the last minute they said it's strengthening. The longer it stays over the Gulf, the stronger it gets. And so they're going to have some really unhappy times down there. And if you are in the path of this storm, please take it seriously. You know, anything that can get blown around, take it inside, lock it in your garage, because all of that becomes shrapnel. And we're talking about winds at the eye of 135 miles an hour. So very, very serious stuff here. All righty, so let's get on in here. Out in California, though, the news is a little bit better. The California firefighters are getting a respite from 650 raging wildfires as cooler temperatures contain the spread after they destroyed 1,300 homes and raised an area the size of Delaware on the ground. Boy, it's been a rough time for the United States between the weather up in Iowa, destroying the agriculture there, 2 hurricanes in the Gulf, the California wildfires. Kind of makes you wonder what else is going to happen. All right, tonight is the third night of the Republican National Convention. Last night, the keynote speaker was Melania Trump, and the celebrities just uncorked on her something fierce. I mean, Melania's appearance during the Republican National Convention on Tuesday brought out the worst in Hollywood celebrities who used her speech as an opportunity to crack jokes and insult everything from her White House initiatives, including #BeBest, to her status as an immigrant. Stars including Bette Midler, Sarah Silverman, Bradley Whitford, Michael Rappaport, and Josh Charles participated in the social media pylon as they attempted to assert their superiority over the First Lady and prove just how clever they can be. I've only ever heard of 2 of those people, by the way. Bette Midler snarked #BeBust while also mocking Melania Trump's command of the English language. Get that illegal alien off the stage. Now, to her credit, Bette Midler has now apologized for those comments. But still in all, that was a little over the top. Tiffany Trump made a rare public speech to the RNC to accuse the media and tech giants of keeping people mentally enslaved by manipulating and invisibly coercing how we think. And she backed her father, saying, "Look to results, not rhetoric." So the first daughter was up there making a rare appearance, railing against the media, the tech giants, saying that they keep us all mentally enslaved. Okay, Republicans go all in on faith with pro-life activists graphically describing abortion procedures and calling Planned Parenthood racist, and Billy Graham's granddaughter accusing Democrats of letting boys use the girls' locker rooms. That one may come back to haunt them in the election, the idea that boys are being allowed to use the girls' locker rooms. I think the Republicans would be wise to make that a major point about where the Democrats are leading this country. On night number 2 of the Republican National Convention, the party went all in on the pro-life stance by featuring a former Planned Parenthood employee who called the group's founder racist and graphically described abortion procedures, which are nasty. Okay, a Democrat, Georgia lawmaker Vernon Jones, brings down the House in an explosive RNC speech, exposes the Democrats for the frauds they are, basically came out in support of President Trump, and all heck broke loose. Now, remember the Covington Catholic School students, specifically Nick Sandman, where they got confronted by this Native American activist pounding a drum in their face and trying to provoke a reaction, which he didn't get. And then Nick Sandman basically turned around and sued the media for defamation and won an out-of-court settlement. Well, he was on the RNC last night, basically saying, "I will not be canceled," and ending his speech by putting on a "Make America Great" hat. So, anyway. Donald Trump has issued a surprise pardon of convicted bank robber and three-time felon John Ponder, who now helps inmates, before the reformed convict spoke on the second night of the RNC in a bid to capitalize on the criminal justice reform. Now, remember the McCloskeys? They spoke on night number one. The McCloskeys are, of course, the couple that protected their home with legally owned firearms against some rioters that had broken through the gate on their little housing area. And apparently, as a result of their appearance on Monday night, they're receiving threats for speaking out against Black Lives Matter. And I guess that's to be expected, given the way that Black Lives Matter operates. Progressive groups are now urging the TV networks to tape delay the GOP convention so they can fact check everything. Now, of course, they didn't do this to the Democratic National Convention. All right. Former First Lady and 2016 Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton said Joe Biden shouldn't concede the election because the final results of the election will likely drag out due to the mail-in ballots. Well, if the mail-in ballots aren't there in time to be counted for the election, they shouldn't be counted at all, because it implies that if the election isn't going Biden's way, that they'll just shove more ballots into those collection bins. I mean, it's wide open for fraud. Trump is right about that. It's wide open for fraud, and there's absolutely no way to protect against it. Anyway, Hillary went on, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch and if we are as focused and relentless as the other side is. I think that Republicans have a couple of scenarios they're looking toward. One is messing up absentee balloting. They believe that helps them so they can get maybe a narrow advantage in the Electoral College on Election Day. She can't let go of that. She can't let go of the fact that she lost in the Electoral College. So she went on to say, so we've got to have a massive legal operation, and I know the Biden campaign is working on that. Anyway, Steve Scalise is responding to Nancy Pelosi's comment about Republicans and Trump being domestic enemies, saying that he was shot because of that kind of unhinged rhetoric. If you'll remember, Steve Scalise was wounded when this gunman opened fire on Republican House members practicing for a baseball game. Al Gore is out there saying that if Trump refuses to concede, the military will take him out of the White House. This is very, very dangerous talk. Okay? Because what happens if the election is so messed up we can't really tell who? Remember Florida in 2000? Nobody really knew who won. It was decided by the Supreme Court. And we don't really know who won that election. So what are they going to do? Say, we can't figure out who it's going to be. Let's just kick Trump out and take over. We could see what's happening in Belarus. We could see happen here. Now, the good news for the Trump campaign is that Trump is leading Biden by 10 points among independents. I think that's a good, strong indicator. We know that the polls showing that Biden is slightly ahead are being rigged by oversampling Democrats. Apparently, 2/3 of Black and Hispanic voters don't trust the mail-in voting. And I think that's good news as well. I don't think people should be using the mail-in voting. I think people should vote in person. I think people should be showing ID to vote is what I think. Then they don't listen to me about these things here. All right, turning over to the rioting, which is taking place across the country. Not unexpectedly, there were more riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin, inspired by the police shooting of Jacob Blake, who was shot in the back while trying to enter a car with his children in the back seat. Blake was hit by 4 of the 7 shots. Some reports said he'd been armed at one point. There is a second video that has emerged that appears to show him carrying a knife. But at least 2 people were killed last night during the 3rd night of violence in Kenosha. And some of the shootings were captured on video. 2 people, 1 person was shot in the head, 1 was shot in the arm, may lose the arm. Now, despite the governor's decision to declare a state of emergency after the 2nd night of violence, police and the National Guard were once again largely absent in a stream of horrifying video from last night's riots, which at times devolved into open street warfare between groups of rioters and armed people allegedly there to protect property, protect the businesses. Now, the mother of Jacob Blake apologized to President Trump for missing his call after she and her husband say they're praying for police officers, and they denounced the violence and destruction that has rocked Kenosha in the wake of his shooting. Julia Jackson said on CNN she was sorry for missing the call from Trump. She repeated calls for calm in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in the wake of the shooting of her son. The 29-year-old was shot 7 times in the back by police in Kenosha on Sunday. Well, they're saying apparently he was hit 4 times. At that range, that's lousy shooting. Anyway, so up in Pennsylvania, the state police are saying homeowners exchanged gunfire with armed Black Lives Matter activists in Bedford County. And apparently a shotgun shells, a semi-automatic pistol, and 9mm casings were all recovered at the scene. This is really, really getting out of control. All right, turning to the international news then. There's been a security incident on the border with Lebanon. The IDF has told residents to stay in their homes for hours. And the Israeli military reported an unspecified security incident along the Lebanese border on Tuesday night, ordering residents of the surrounding area to remain in their homes. The restrictions were lifted on Wednesday morning. The Israel Defense Forces fired flares into the sky around the northern Galilee near the community of Manara as the military searched the area to ensure that no one had breached the border after troops reportedly heard gunshots at an outpost along the frontier. Now then, over in North Korea, new pictures of Kim Jong-un have been released at a meeting of the Politburo of the Workers' Party. He called for prevention efforts against the coronavirus and typhoon. And this comes just days after ex-South Korean aide Chang Sung-min said Kim was in a coma. In fact, there was one report that said he was already dead, but apparently he's had a Kim back. China blasts a U.S. naked provocation after a U-2 spy plane entered a no-fly zone during PLA drills. In the latest tit-for-tat South China Sea saga, China has denounced the United States, lodging stern representations with the U.S. Embassy over Pentagon attempts to spy on live-fire military drills over what Beijing claims is its sovereign airspace. Specifically, according to Reuters, the U.S. is charged with sending a U.S. U-2 reconnaissance plane into a no-fly zone over Chinese live-fire military drills on Tuesday, further ratcheting up tensions between Beijing and Washington. Now, Trump is reportedly considering accusing China of genocide over the treatment of the Uyghurs, as the Trump administration works to keep the flow of aggressive China-related headlines flowing across social media. Politico reported on Tuesday that the administration is weighing the possibility of labeling Beijing's treatment of Muslim minority Uyghurs as a genocide. Of course, for this label to have any real power effect, it would have to be backed by the UN Security Council, and seeing as China has a permanent seat and veto power, the odds of this flying at the UN are virtually impossible. Okay. The alliance between Venezuela and Iran is evolving into the military sphere, and it seems to be taking a new direction. The ties between the two countries began to strengthen in an economic sphere when, in the first half of 2020, Tehran started sending oil ships to Venezuela, circumventing the international trade rules imposed by Washington with the aim of blocking Caracas economically. Earlier this year, Tehran sent several cargoes of gasoline to Venezuela to help the South American country overcome fuel shortages, as well as equipment to help state oil company PDVSA overcome production and export difficulties during the crisis, trying to get their refineries back up and running. Now, the UN Security Council has rejected the U.S. snapback sanctions on Iran, and the method for snapback sanctions was built into the P5+1 nuclear deal, and the U.S. is arguing they're still technically party to the deal, at least for the sake of doing things to Iran. The U.S. withdrew from the deal in 2018 and ceased meeting its own obligations, and other nations don't consider the U.S. a party anymore. Last week, the parties expressed opposition almost universally, saying the U.S. measures were unacceptable. U.S. officials say the opposition has no legal impact on the snapback sanctions. The U.S. has vowed to enforce the sanctions whether they pass or not. Anyway, Gaza's militant Hamas rulers have imposed a territory-wide curfew on Tuesday after authorities detected the first local cases of the coronavirus raising fears of a wider outbreak in the blockaded territory that is home to some 2 million Palestinians. Speaking of COVID-19, an Australian COVID-19 vaccine is producing 0 side effects in human trials and does provide protection against the virus in animals while reducing symptoms. So that's good news there. Boris Johnson is reportedly planning to resign in 6 months because of lingering coronavirus health problems, according to Dominic Cummings' father-in-law. And apparently he's going to stand down in 6 months because of the lingering health problems. All righty. All right, there's a lawsuit now claiming Merck's Gardasil papillomavirus vaccine caused severe injuries to a teen. Attorneys Bijan Esfandari, Nicole K.H. Maldonado, Michael H. Baum, and co-counsel Robert F. Kennedy Jr., local counsel Christopher E. Hallquist of Hallquist Law in Providence, filed the lawsuit in U.S. District Court for the District of Rhode Island on behalf of Ms. Belasco, who alleges her vaccine injuries were so severe and debilitating, she was physically unable to attend most of high school. We've been hearing bad things about the Gardasil all along here. Turning to the economic news here, mortgage delinquencies are at a decade high. 54% of San Francisco storefronts no longer in business. We mentioned yesterday the cable cars have stopped running in San Francisco. It's kind of hard to imagine the San Francisco without the cable cars. Anyways, the permanent economic damage piles up. The COVID crisis is looking more like the Great Recession. I think we were aimed at a recession anyway, and COVID virus is just being used as a scapegoat. All righty, let's see. Julian Assange's partner says he's in a lot of pain and a lot thinner after she visited him in Belmarsh prison with their 2 children for the first time in 6 months. So that is still lingering there and waiting to see if there's going to be extradition here. Now, it's been 3 months since the government dropped its case against General Michael Flynn, and the D.C. court still will not set him free. I think somebody needs to file a writ of habeas corpus. Say, what the heck is going on? I don't know what's going on over at Fort Hood, but there's something really weird. There's been at least 15 deaths this year alone, and they found the body of a missing Fort Hood soldier, Sergeant Fernandez, hanging from a tree. Now, he alleged sexual abuse at the troubled base, and he had transferred units after reporting the sexual abuse. And then he simply disappeared. I don't know. Almost like A Few Good Men or something, the screenplay from it. Over in the realm of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, apparently Ghislaine Maxwell's nephew was given special treatment by Hillary Clinton, who gave him a State Department job. Earlier this week, a picture surfaced showing a Jeffrey Epstein accuser, Shantae Davies, giving a message to Bill Clinton, casting a further shadow over the ex-president's relationship with the late child sexual abuser, who is known to have mingled with big shots from the world of politics and business. No sooner had the ado over a picture of Bill Clinton receiving a neck massage from one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers calmed down than a new compromising detail sank in, that ex-Secretary of State Hillary Clinton gifted Alexander Geraci, the nephew of Epstein's pal and ex-partner Ghislaine Maxwell, a position within her department. The young man was reportedly just out of college at the time and enjoyed special treatment from Hillary. Okay, Trump nominates Chad Wolf, the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, to serve permanently, setting up a bitter Senate battle. See what happens with that one here. Okay, Greta Thunberg is back in school after taking a 1-year sabbatical to crusade against climate change, and she's resumed her studies. And, well, good. What can I tell you? We're going to go ahead and open the phone lines here, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show here. We're going to go to the phones now to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. I want to talk about the all these incidents where supposedly a black guy is killed by a white cop for racial reasons. And specifically, I heard a good analysis of the George Floyd incident. It was Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff usually does financial, and he concentrates on financial stuff, but he zeroes in on sometimes on something else. And he went over. He's an analyst. He went over specifically everything that happened on this George Floyd incident, and he arrived at the conclusion, which there's no possible way they can convict these guys of murder because, if you saw I myself saw the whole. If you saw the whole incident, the whole video, see what they do in each one of these incidents. The first thing they do is they release a little bit of a video, which shows, it makes it look like the original George Floyd thing. This guy was kneeling on his knee. Everybody was saying, how can they do that? But actually, at the time, that was standard operating procedure. That was going by the book in that particular police department. Now, they changed it later. But if you watch the whole video, the cops tried as hard as they could to get the guy to sit in a car, and he refused to sit in a car. He said he had claustrophobia, and he said, "Please let me lay down on the ground." So the cops didn't want to do that, but there's a certain way. That was the proper way, according to that police department in, I guess it was Minneapolis. That was what you're supposed to do to handle a guy, handcuffed man, on the ground and subdue him, is by kneeling on the neck. And it's possible to do it. You can kneel on the neck without killing the guy if you kneel on the right part of the neck. And so that's what Peter Schiff was saying. He researched the whole thing. Now, so they did that by the book, and oh God, I forgot what I was going to say. But they can't get these guys for murder because, the other thing, the autopsy. So you got the autopsy too, which shows the guy had 3 times the lethal dose of fentanyl. That was what killed him, probably. I mean, in fact, almost for sure, that's what killed him. He kept complaining from the beginning that he could not breathe, and respiratory failure is the primary symptom of overdose of fentanyl. He was dying of an overdose.
Yes.
He had fentanyl, cocaine, alcohol, and marijuana in his system. And so these cops actually did a great job. If you watch the whole video, they asked his ex-girlfriend, what's wrong, what's going on with this guy, and they were trying to figure out. They knew that he was obviously on some kind of a drug and didn't know what the hell was going on, but they didn't know he was ODing on. But that's what happened. He OD'd, so he died of an overdose. They went exactly by the book. There's nothing in there at all that was racist. They didn't call him any name. The race did not come up at all in the conversation. And in fact, 2 of the cops were not white. They were either Asian or part black, the other 2 cops, besides the guy kneeling on him. So what's going to happen, there's no way when this actually goes to trial, there's no way they could even get him for manslaughter because they were going by the book. They did everything by the book. Guy, plus the combination of video and the autopsy, and the other, all of these things are similar. This guy George Floyd knew he was going to. Besides the fact that he was blind, they had no idea what he was doing because he was on this drug apparently. But he knew he was going back to prison because he got caught passing bad bills and all this stuff. And this other guy that recently happened in Kenosha, he was also going to go to prison. He had warrants out on felony and misdemeanor warrants, and that's why he tried to make a run for it. And first they try to talk to him. They try to talk to the cops and play the cops and say, and hopefully they're thinking, well, I'm black. They're going to let me buy it and let me get through all this because, well, the controversy, the cops don't want any trouble because, and actually most cops probably would let him go. They'd say, well, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to go to trial. I'll just let this guy go home or do whatever he wants. You know, that's what they tried to talk him out of it. This guy in Kenosha tried to say he has to go to his daughter's birthday party. One of those other guys, I think it was the guy in Atlanta, said the same thing. I have to go to my child's birthday party. So that's just BS, probably. I mean, if they had checked up on it, is it actually a birthday party? Probably not. So what's going on here is there's nothing racist about this. White people, they would do the same thing to a white guy, for sure. That's all I have to say.
Well, John, we got to let you go and take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. And we had a caller yesterday who asked me to research the rates of black on white versus white on black crime, both with police. And I found like a whole bunch of different sets of numbers, but the general trend generally was that there's far more black on black violent assault than there is white on black violent assault. And in point of fact, white people are more likely to be shot by the police than black people, precisely because the police don't want that negative publicity. All right, we're going to go back to the phones to Joe in Tennessee. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I've been talking. I called you last week about these riots and how the government really is allowing Antifa to riot and loot for whatever political objectives they have. You know, we know that if they were right-wingers running around, they wouldn't be allowed to run riot and loot. And I actually give Tucker Carlson a lot of credit. He talked like 2 days ago with that senator from Louisiana and said, because the senator tried to deflect Trump's responsibility. And Tucker said, if this was, Eisenhower sent in the troops Arkansas, and the senator looked embarrassed. And last night he did the same thing with Mark Meadows, Trump's chief of staff, saying, when are you going to do something? When is Barr going to do anything? But you notice after two Antifas get their asses handed to them, or I should say their heads handed to them, by a 17-year-old hero, a real hero, a real American hero, took out two of them, blew off one of their arms so they'll never be able to throw another Molotov cocktail for the government. You notice how quick Trump, after two of the Antifa agents probably, were shot dead, stone cold dead in the street, right in the head. Anyway, you notice how quick Trump now, all of a sudden, he's sending in the federal agents. We can't have government informants getting shot in the street now, can we? Boy, that was really quick, Trump. Yes, it just kind of shows, like, once again, what side the government's really on. This government hates you, white America. This government hates nationalists. This government supports Antifa, supports Black Lives Matter. There's your proof. Even Trump, who I supported, I'll probably still vote for because of the Supreme Court and abortion, but I'll have to hold my nose. Because, I watched the Republican convention. I watched Trump. It's always, black unemployment, black prison reform. Well, we're the people that put Trump into office. Why doesn't he spend a little time about our concerns, like the riots? He talks about the riots like law and order. You're the president. Let's have some law and order. Now, all of a sudden, Antifa gets their ass handed to him, and he's going to send in the troops to protect Antifa. I mean,
well, we don't know who the troops are supposed to be protecting, but so far the troops that have been sent in there aren't really showing up here. And let's be honest, I mean, the Democrats didn't even mention the violence during their convention.
Well, no, I know that, but once again, the troops are there to protect Antifa because they didn't show up to protect the average working man or the business owner. It's only when Antifa starts getting their ass handed to them that the troops get sent in, because they want to bail them out, because half of them are probably government agents. I'm looking for more information on who the two victims were, the two clowns that got their asses, their heads blown off. And one of them, you can watch him die on video if you're into that kind of thing. Watching probably an informant getting his ass handed to him, out in the street, stirring up crap, trying to take our rights from us. I got to tell you, that 17-year-old is a hero. And I hope he runs for governor of Wisconsin and president of the United States one day. He put his ass on the line. He went out there, and they tried to come at him, and he blew their ass away. God bless him. And once again, It's funny to watch. All of a sudden, now there's going to be police there. Now they're going to be protecting Antifa because, God, you can't have Antifa getting their heads blown off. But for months and months, when it's just the average working stiff getting hit in the head with a brick because he's got a Trump hat on or he's just white and his truck breaks down. No, there's no federal police then, is there, Mr. Trump? But as soon as a couple of your Antifa, beloved little Antifa guys get their asses handed to them, all of a sudden, let's send the feds in right away. So it just kind of, it's very, very, it's right in your face, America. This is what your government does. This is what your FBI does. They entrap people. If you're on the wrong side of the political fence, whether it's anti-Zionism or white nationalism, the government will come after you so fast, it'll make your head spin. They'll entrap you. They'll get you in more trouble than you could imagine if you join up with any groups or anything. Try being a 9/11 truther. So I just like to see this stuff exposed. I like the government to be exposed for what it is. So white people out there, don't sit there and put any faith in it. Put any faith in guys like Barr to bring justice to this country. Barr, the guy he's there helped bury 9/11. He's probably in TWA Flight 800, all that stuff. Goes back to Waco for all I know. Don't expect anything from him. So, like I said, this is a good time because everything's being shown. Everything, there's no more secrets anymore. I think we're headed for, these are the end times where everything gets shown to everybody. And if you don't want to see it, you're being willful and you want to be ignorant. But if you want to keep your eyes open and look and watch their actions, it's their actions that show what they're really all about. They sit there and talk law and order. They don't want law and order unless it's law and order, law for the anarchists and the Antifa, but order for you. Order for you, white America. You get your orders. Anyway.
Okay.
It's thank you for hearing me out. And
okay,
like I said, I want to just salute that young man and anybody listening in Wisconsin. If you happen to get on that jury, acquit that young man. He's an American hero.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Sebastian in Sweden. Hello, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. How you doing? Yeah, I've been away for a while. I was on a road trip to Stockholm to see the grandchildren and my 3 sons. I've been calling in for a while. What I want to call in about is the fact that whether you know or not, if you're sheriff, I'm thinking about the election in America and what the outcome would be. I mean, Hillary came out and said something weird the other day, saying that even if Biden loses, to hold on or something, or to take over anyway. She was so, I don't know, it's really getting bad in the state. So I'm thinking about, can a sheriff, for instance, deputize a whole community of people, like everyone in this county is deputized and they have a right to defend their property and to abide by the Constitution and to, can they, is that legal?
Well, they don't need to deputize people. We all have an inherent right to defend our property against, criminal activity. A lot of states have what are called the castle laws.
Yeah, okay, but still, it's not. It would be more like official than if you're deputized, and you can even defend it against federal troops. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I mean, there are practical considerations there, but we're heading into an area where, like I said, up in Kenosha, there's open warfare going on.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's really getting bad, and then you see things on. I get these links sometimes from friends in the States about. I think it was Oprah Winfrey coming out and say that all the old white people should be, basically that's me, should be just killed or put away.
It's me too.
That's really bad. It's a really bad situation in America. Whether I think things are going to happen whether Biden wins or Trump wins again. I mean, hopefully Trump will take it again. Because I think it'll be a bad situation if Biden. I think if Biden wins, I think that his market's going to crash, and I don't think the people are going to have confidence in the Democrats. You know, the people, the money people on Wall
No.
Street, they won't have any confidence in Democrats. So I don't know. I'm just, it worries me a little bit about the election in America. I mean, it's, I came home with my cat, the dude, he's gone. He's been away 10, 12 days now. It's worried me a little bit, but I'm sure he's going to be home soon. But the election, man, that's pretty bad. I want to keep my eyes and ears peeled on that. Oh, another thing I want to ask you, Mike, have you heard anything about a sound from space that comes, they listen to it every 5th month? Have you heard
Yes.
about that? And it comes every 5th month.
Past radio burst,
And
we reported on that yesterday.
Yeah, okay, I missed it yesterday because it's pretty late here, so sometimes Okay, well, thank you very much. You take care of yourself and Claire, and hope everyone out there is doing okay, and Tom and Dustin, Peter, and Paul, and all the rest of the guys. Mark up in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, take care of yourself. See you.
All right.
Then.
Thanks an awful lot. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to David in Massachusetts. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, aloha, Michael. Hey, Michael, can I play a word association game with you? And before you answer, I'll say the word twice, Michael, so that you're sure that you understand the word I'm saying. And I want to see if you can associate something with this word. Okay, the word is termagant. Termagant.
No idea.
Are you familiar? Oh, okay. You're not familiar with that word?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. I would have really laughed if you said, Hillary Clinton. But look it up in the dictionary and everything. What a termagant is. Term, agant, termagant, a termagant. And anyway, I could tell you what it means, but maybe you'll have more fun looking it up. A termagant.
Yes, I'm looking at the definition right now: a harsh-tempered or overbearing woman, which applies to Hillary and also to Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, So hey, if Joe Biden is the Loch Ness monster, certainly Hillary Rodham Clinton is the Loch Ness monstrous. But on a I don't know if I should say a more serious note, because you can't get more serious than actually those creeps. But I really enjoyed Jeff Bennett's interview with Sarah Weaver, Mike, on the anniversary of the massacre at Ruby Creek,
Ruby Ridge.
And it's actually. Michael, she explained that just caught on Ruby Ridge, but there's no Ruby Ridge. It's Ruby Creek. But the media came up with the Ruby Ridge, and it kind of stuck,
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I just found that out recently myself on the interview that Jeff did with Sarah Weaver. But Mike, this is what I want to bring out that makes me sick. Back here in Massachusetts, in Quincy, Massachusetts, they still worship this guy, William Deegan, the marshal that shot Sammy Weaver's boy, Stryker. The Black Lab's dog was Stryker, a young Black Lab, and shot Sammy Weaver Jr. in the back. Just Sammy Weaver, not Junior, but shot him in the back and everything. And his name's William Deegan, Marshal William Deegan. He was from Quincy, North Quincy to be specific. And they have this road race every year on the anniversary of the massacre at Ruby Creek, Ruby Ridge, the William Deegan Road Race back here. And there's a newspaper back here called the Quincy Patriot Ledger newspaper, and he's treated as this big hero, and they still refer to Randy Weaver and everything as an Aryan Nation white supremacist and neo-Nazi and all this garbage to this day. But it's sickening, Mike. And then one other afterthought here now that's really sickening. Those I have to watch my language here. I want to say illegitimate son, but those evil people in the government, the FBI and the ATF and all that, Mike. But to show how remorseful they were, after it came out, to show how remorseful they were, that they had made a big mistake and it was a travesty of justice and everything, then they arrested Maynard C. Campbell Jr. because he wrote a wonderful book. It was kind of like a booklet on. He had it right because he was familiar with it. Massacre at Ruby Creek, the Idaho massacre. Assault at Ruby Creek, the Idaho massacre and everything. And this was about a year later that he wrote this book. He was intimately involved with the Weaver family. He knew the terrain. He was present at the whole siege. Maynard C. Campbell Jr. But to show how sorry they were for what they did to the Weaver family, they arrested him on trumped-up charges. I think, he had some land out in Oregon or something, and he was, I don't know, getting some deadwood, just some deadwood off of state land or something. He wasn't cutting down any trees or anything. He was just getting some deadwood or something, and they charged him with, cutting down trees on federal land. They threw him in prison. And anyways, they made sure that he never came out of prison alive. They gave other inmates access to him, I guess, that were hired by the government, working for that, whatever. But he was just stabbed. He was stabbed to death. I don't know, about 26 or 36 times. Maynard C. Campbell Jr. because he gave a truthful account. And you can still get the booklet. It's a wonderful booklet. Assault at Ruby Creek, the Idaho Massacre by Maynard C. Campbell Jr. But the main thing is, back here they got this work. Check it. Folks can check it out. Your audience is very handy on the internet. But the Quincy Patriot Ledger newspaper, and William, I think his middle initial is F. William F. Deegan or something. And he's still hailed as a big hero back here because he killed those white supremacist skinhead Aryan Nation people and everything. But anyways, Mike, the last thing I'll say, they talk about has the American dream died, and as far as I'm concerned, the American dream died for sure at Ruby Creek, Ruby Ridge, and so they just had this commemoration back here. But I just love Jeff Bennett. If you can, people that can access the archives on RBN, he interviews Sarah Weaver. She's a lovely young lady now of 22 years of age, and her father can be very proud of her and everything.
David, we're going to have to let you go. We got to take another break here for commercials. We got other callers waiting on the line, and we will be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Mo in Florida. Hello, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, I just have a question for you. I won't be long. You got other callers. You're the perfect guy to ask this to, I think, because you're technically oriented. But the ADS, this active denial system, this terahertz military thing that heats your skin up, they've had for years, and it doesn't cause any real damage. Just kind of hits the top layer of your skin and makes it very uncomfortable to be around. And for the very fact, this thing is perfect for these riots without killing anybody, to disperse crowds. It's never been used. None of that stuff's been used, which just adds to that previous caller, which I think was spot on, is that I don't think they really want to stop these riots.
No, I don't think they do either.
I think the Republicans like it. It benefits them, and I don't know. All I know, the end result is it's a distraction from the financial collapse. And I think you had that one. This is a war. All wars are bankers' wars. This is a war, is it not? People shooting each other. It's just like it's a civil. It's the second American Civil War, right?
Certainly looks like the opening skirmishes.
Well, I hope it don't. You tell me why they haven't used that system, and I can't find any reason. The more I research it, it's the perfect crowd dispersal. Nobody gets hurt. They're just uncomfortable. They move on. And nope, not going to do that. Let them shoot it out. Whether they're infiltrated with, spooks or not, I don't know. But okay, Mike, I just wanted to see if maybe you had a, different thought on that. So
no, that's a valid point. There's that one. There's the LRAD sound system. I mean, they've spent all this money developing these crowd control measures, and they're not using any of them against Black Lives Matter.
No, nobody gets hurt with this stuff. Just don't want to be around that area. They could disperse and they could use it. But okay, Mike, thanks a lot. Let's get to your other callers.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I got Mike. I didn't call yesterday. I called the day before. I got to respond to Mark from New York. That's Mark from New York, not North Carolina. Mark from New York, because this was going back to Steve Bannon. He said, "Oh, Steve, why would Steve Bannon do anything nickel and dime?" I got a rhyme. It's called nickel and dimes plus nickel and dimes means I get to ride first class all the time. You understand that, right? The
Yes.
more nickel and dimes you get, yeah. So think about that. You know, nickel and dime operations, they do add up, guys. You know, all the lobbyist money they get, Congress, Senate, you know, that adds up, man. You know, they get to take those, the junkets, right, go to the Bahamas, right, on business meetings, right? I mean, that's all that stuff adds up for them. You know, so I mean, just don't throw that away and say, oh, you know, it's a, you know, remember with Hillary, it's a right-wing conspiracy, it's a left-wing conspiracy. Look, we're not in their group, guys. Like, I mean, George Carlin said it best. You know, American dream, you got to be asleep to believe in it. You know,
Yes.
Remember, guys? You know, George Carlin says they own you. You know, George Carlin. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, hang on there. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're talking with Dustin in New Jersey. And Dustin, if you would just sort of pick up where you left off.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody knows George Carlin. I believe he was the Nostradamus. I mean, he always, Mike, did you ever watch the last, like, speech he made to that reporter? He goes like, you know, my next door neighbor got a truck with a DVD player. I got to get a truck. You know, it's like, I mean, he was, you know, like everybody wants to be the same. You know, everybody wants to be up with the Joneses. You know, like, I mean, he was a great. But I want to get back to, like, again, Trump, Biden, Trump, Clinton. Nothing's changed. Joe, you said it, but you're wrong, Joe. Okay, law and order president. Where? There ain't no law and order, Joe. You know that. You know why? He's letting it rip. He's letting it rip to allow it to happen. That's it. That's what's going on. They're not going to do anything about this. Okay, it's up to the governor and the National Guard. And Joe, that guy, that kid, that 17-year-old's not a hero. He's a thug, dude. Like, him and his few friends went to the sheriff, asked to be deputized. None of them have riot or police experience, right? None of them have military experience. And I don't know if you saw the video, Mike. He was just shooting down the street, like just people filming stuff. I mean, you don't do that, man. I mean, come on. To call him a hero, and then you know what's scarier, Mike? He walked past the police cars and the MRAPs. That, you know, maybe was a tactical error because he could have come back around. That was a bad mistake by the police. And then if he's such a hero, he got arrested out of state. He fled. So he did wrong. He fled. He fled the scene. You know, so he was a thug. They're thugs. You got thugs on both sides. That's what's going on, Mike. You know what it is, Mike? Everybody's coming out of the woodwork, you know, with their cameras, with their agendas, you know. It's sad. Sad what's going on, and I don't think it's going to be fixed because I said it days ago. This is a declining empire, guys. People don't want to hear that. This is why you had Trump and Hillary and Trump and Biden. This is all we have left. We have nobody. Who do we have? Like, who does the Republican Party have if they don't have Trump, Mike? Nikki Haley? Would you vote for Nikki Haley, the one who says,
No.
Iran and ISIS?
No.
That statement, Mike, that statement aggravated me because what do we have now? Saudi Arabia and ISIS, right? So, Iran, Iran had nothing to do with ISIS. Saudi Arabia is linked to ISIS because of the Wahhabis. So that was like a fraudulent statement, you know? And no, we're not a racist country, but we're a killer nation. You know, we like killing. You know, we're imperialists, man. We're militarized, guys. You know, look at the police, man. Like, if you go back to 1950 and to now, do the police look like the police from the 90s? You know, I mean, it's just you look at the police from 1950. Yeah, they had billy clubs, but they got MRAPs now, man.
Yes.
You know, I mean, come on, man. It's like a different era. You know, something's gone wrong, guys. You know, and to think either party's going to fix anything, dude. They got their money. They got their getaways. We ain't got them, okay? And Mike, I got angry at Joe for saying this punk is a hero. He's not, because he shot just willy-nilly around, dude. Like, that's just not being professional, you know?
No.
That's not, I mean, and anyway, militia members are not part of the police and the National Guard. Like, I don't know does anybody know what time that incident happened? Because if that happened after the curfew, then those militia guys shouldn't be out on the streets either, right? Because they're not part of the people that are supposed to be out, the police and the National Guard. I mean, so what he did was wrong, Joe. Okay, and Mike, before I get off the phone, I got one more thing to say about Tom. That's Tom from Florida, and you keep bringing up Cuba and Venezuela, and I ask you, because you're always railing against communism and socialism, it's not the system that fails, it's the people that run it. Why don't you lift the sanctions off those countries? What? You know, Mike, Trump, you all want to vote for Trump? Mike, did you see the incident in Syria with the Russian helicopters? Today? Was it today?
Which incident was that where they got the 300 militants?
No, you didn't see the chase with the American Humvee, the MRAPs, being chased by Russian armored vehicles and two, was it Mi-7 helicopters? You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
Go on Zero Hedge, check out the video. Holy crap, Mike. Do people think you're going to vote for Trump and change the system or stop the wars? Go watch this video. This was an incident, man. Watch the video, Mike, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And by interesting coincidence, our next caller is Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, good day to you. Here we go again with this Dustin. This guy's like dust in the wind, man. This guy's like unbelievable. Here he's going to tell me about Cuba and Venezuela. This guy's going to talk, when you lift the sanctions. Are you kidding me? And this guy, look, Dustin, why don't you take some of your money and get a trip to Cuba, okay? Why don't you go pay a visit to Cuba or go to pay a visit to Venezuela, okay? And by the way, Mike.
Well, okay, Tom, let me cut in here a little bit because Dustin does raise a point. One of the reasons conditions are so bad in Venezuela and Cuba is because of all these sanctions being imposed by the United States. If we really want to get the measure of whether these systems work or not, let's take off the sanctions and see how well they do.
Well, hey, Mike, they were doing pretty good when they were promoting capitalism. When they're promoting their communism ideology, what happened? They crumbled, just like the USSR.
Now, wait a minute, Tom, you've missed the point. When they went socialist communist, that's when the sanctions got thrown onto them. Okay, I'm saying if you really want an accurate test about whether socialism can work, let's have some place that's socialist that is not encumbered with all these embargoes and sanctions and the rest of it, and see if they can make it work.
Socialism didn't work in Sweden, Mike, did it? It didn't work in England too well. I mean, socialism's not working in Europe too well. They got socialist societies. Come on with their medical problems and all that. Look, Mike, here's what I want to get back to. I want to salute young man, Sandman. I want to salute Sandman, Nicholas Sandman. You know what? He should have drove up to that convention yesterday in a Ferrari, paid by CNN and all the communists. That's what he should have done. I don't know if he rolled up in that convention in a Rolls Royce or he's in a Lincoln Memorial, but that Sandman's going to end up with $200-300 million. I want to doubt he gets $1 billion out of these leftist communist media. And you know, we hear this Dustin every time. This guy, Dustin, your other caller's going to come, and I love it. You know, this Dustin's talking about Trump. Hey, Dustin, why your state of New Jersey keep voting for a guy like Murphy, that Murphy the surf imbecile, and then you got that criminal, what's the senator over there, Mendez? Come on, Dustin, you're going to talk about Trump. You better look at Robert Mendez. and you're going to talk about Trump all the time, Dustin. That's all that spews out of your mouth is how bad Trump is. Trump hasn't done nothing right in your eyes. But you know what? You got a Mendez, you got a Murphy that has plundered your state. You guys are taxed to death. I'm surprised you're still in that state, Dustin. You must have a good job over there, making a lot of money to stay in that state. Or you must get a disability or something, because I don't know how most people can stay in that state of New Jersey the way they're taxed to death. And the gas prices and food prices. It's unbelievable. And I hear this guy spew all the time about Trump. Hey, Dustin, you need to jump off the Trump train and jump on the Mendez train then. Or go with the Murphy guy. You know, like I told you yesterday, Mike, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard may have been a good candidate she's the only one that had a halfway decent chance of bringing this country together maybe as a Democrat. But you know what? These Democrats are all flipped out, Mike. There's something wrong with them. And that was proven at the convention last night when Pam Bondi exposed Biden. She ripped him up like a can opener about Hunter Biden and all his family members becoming millionaires off of Biden. Biden needs to be investigated. He needs grand juries. He should be indicted and put in prison. That bumbling buffoonery of Biden. And Dustin's going to drag on Trump. Why don't you rag on Biden too, Dustin? Make it equal, fair, and balanced. I mean, every time this guy Dustin and some of the other callers on, it's all Trump. Hey, Trump's better than an alternative, my friend. And that's why you're voting for him, Mike, ain't you? In your great state of Indiana, you're going to vote for him?
Yep.
Okay, so back to Dustin. Yeah, Dustin, you call out a lot of people, but you don't like when people call you out. That's all I got to say, Mike, really, today, because I'm a little perturbed at this guy. All he does is call out people that he don't agree with, and now he's going to tell me how great communists can be. Communists can get me? Are you kidding me? Seriously? Try to come down here and sell that to the people down here in South Florida about how great communism could have been. I think it'll work. It ain't going to fly. So you know what, Mike? Going back to a couple of other callers, the one guy was right about the statistics. Mike, I did look at the statistics we talked about earlier. I appreciate that. I really appreciate you doing that. Did you see the numbers of white women being raped by Afro-Americans? Did you look at that, Mike?
I didn't catch that one.
Well, okay. I hope you do, and I hope you get to see the movie White Man's Burden. Like I asked you if you could watch that one night and talk about it, and also want to know if you had a chance to see Uncle Tom yet.
No, I have not had a chance to see either of those.
Well, when you get a chance to see Uncle Tom, Mike, and you talk about it the next day after you see it, I think you're going to agree with me that probably 30, 40, maybe 50% of the Afro-Americans will vote Republican. They will never be Democrats again. I really believe that. That's how powerful that video is. So anyway, I know you got other callers, but yeah. And Mike, as far as when you look at the FBI statistics of crime, if white men were raping black women in the numbers that blacks are doing with whites, I think we have a major problem in this country. It's worse than we got now. I mean, we got a major problem as it is. Okay, and then Dustin's calling out that 17-year-old kid being a thug and all that. Well, look, it goes on both sides here, man. You know, like I told you yesterday, Mike. Yeah, some of these cops are bad eggs, but you know what? A lot of these people don't want to follow the law, Mike. They're breaking the law, and the law is the law. And that's the bottom line. The law is the law. And the Democrats, if they get in power, it will be like the Wild Wild West 100 times over. So that's basically all I got to say. And thank you for taking my call. You got other callers. I hope you a couple calls. I hope that guy Dave called in, and you had some great calls yesterday, believe it or not. I hope to hear from Miles, and I hope to hear from there's a lady in Florida. I forgot her name. I hope she called in. She's very good. So I can't remember her name right off the bat, but I think it's Rachel. I don't know. Anyway, Mike, thank you for taking my call.
All right. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going?
Well, kind of busy so far.
Glad I called after Dustin. Hey, Dustin, he's a hero. He's what America is made of. Figure you from the Northeast, from Jersey.
Mark, are you there?
Sorry, Mark. Sorry, every time I talk to you, it seems like I was just eating something, so I'd swallow it. Okay. So let me tell you something. I can tell you from Jersey, okay? New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, these are some of the most, Connecticut, these are some of the most un-American states in the United States. Doesn't mean everybody in there is un-American. I'm from New York originally. I think it's an asshole, and I got out of there. Okay. One of the reasons it's an asshole is because of people like you who think, oh, we just got to rely on the police or on a government of some kind, and everything will be fine. You can't have people, practicing the constitutional rights. Every time a guy like you sees a gun, probably, Dustin, you hide under the table like you do, hiding from that stupid virus that probably doesn't even exist. Okay? While you're wearing a dumb mask. That's the problem with people like you, Dustin. That boy is a hero, 17-year-old kid. Okay? He's got cojones the size of basketballs. Right? He did exactly what he had to do against the vermin known as Antifa. All right? Now, I don't necessarily even agree with the shooting, with the cops, what they did. I've been, all the years I've worked in different types of law enforcement and corrections, I've been on a lot of different cases of force. I don't think that called for deadly force. I think they could have dragged that guy out. They should have jumped on the guy first before he got in the car. Don't shoot it 7 times into a vehicle when he has little kids in there on top of it. Even if he had a knife, which I don't know if he did, I think it was unjustified. One of the problems is the kind of people they're recruiting into these departments today. They're recruiting a lot of weak, physically inept people. Also people with very little common sense. A lot of women that don't know what they're doing. I don't say no woman can do the job, but most women are not MMA fighters. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Power lifters. Okay? Most of the women they recruit are useless. A lot of the men they recruit also are useless. That's probably what this leads to. They probably were afraid and they opened fire, which there really was no reason for, at least from what I could see in that video. Now, maybe there's something else there that I don't know. From what I could see in that video, they could have jumped him. I think there were about 4 or 5 cops and just one of him. Okay? So I don't think that shooting was justified. However, also not justified is to attack innocent people, to burn down small businesses that, by the way, are suffering enough because of this dumb lockdown that shouldn't even be existing. And as far as the police go, they're not standing on the side of the armed citizens. As a matter of fact, I heard the sheriff, and some sheriffs are constitutional sheriffs and do what they're supposed to do. I won't deputize any of them. Okay, and they're trying to prosecute this kid on top of everything else. I'm not on the side of the police. I'm not either. I'm on the side of the citizens. The citizens of this country, honest, decent citizens who finally are sick and tired of seeing this country go to, go to hell, I should say. Okay, they're tired of it. They're fighting back. There's going to be more fighting back. Not only on what's going on with Antifa, but also when they're talking about forcibly injecting us with their vaccine poison, making people wear these stupid masks. This is not Brisbane, Australia. This is the United States, and we do have that Second Amendment, which obviously, Dustin, you don't respect. You don't respect the Constitution of your own country, Dustin. That's not unusual because there's so many people like that in the Northeast. Okay, especially in New Jersey and New York. At least New York City. I shouldn't say upstate New York is a different story. New Jersey, pretty much the whole state is like that. So, say that boy isn't a hero, Dustin. You're certainly no hero. You're certainly no hero. You cowered under your bed worrying about an invisible virus that probably is no worse than the season. It's probably not even as bad as the seasonal flu that's coming out now. Probably basically a bad cold. Okay? And yet, here you go, you have the gall to criticize this guy and to talk about, well, he's not the police or the military. You better believe he's not. That's not what this country is founded on anyway. It's founded on militias. What this country is founded on, Mike?
Yes.
Justin, you should be ashamed of yourself, man. Believe it or not, I agree with him on Venezuela because Venezuela, first of all, Maduro is not a communist. He's actually a Christian, committed Christian, as is Ortega there in Nicaragua. Nicaragua banned abortion. I don't know if I don't think Venezuela did the same thing, but Nicaragua did. They also banned gay marriages. I mean, Ortega, even though he may be a communist or a socialist or something, he's certainly he's not a neoliberal like Dustin probably is. Well, I mean, I'm glad I got in after Dustin. Okay, that really pissed me off, Mike. That really pissed me off because
I kind of got that feeling.
Yeah, I lived among people like Dustin for many years. Okay, and they disgusted me. And when I was a peace officer there in New York, the union hated me because I used to go. They used to, call for citizens shouldn't have guns. Only we should have guns. I used to go to meetings and I used to say, you guys are clowns. You're going against our Constitution. Okay. So they hated me. I don't.
Okay, well,
that.
Mark,
Right.
Mark, we got to let you go and take a break for commercials. Got more callers waiting on the line. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Peter in Los Angeles. Hello, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Hello, Peter in California. Are you there? Okay, obviously we have a problem there, so let's go to Mark in New York. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Doing, Mike? How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing fine.
Great. Well, I wanted to call. I'll respond to Dustin a little bit. I looked up, trying to find how much money they actually regarding the wall down there in Bannon. I looked up his general worth is over $10 million, and it seems like he's when you get older in life, I think people have concerns about their legacy, and this has so much exposure. I just think that he's got to try him, but it's all alleged right now. I can't find exactly that he may have taken $1 million. I know he's flown down there. They said it was all volunteered, but they do have expenses. How much money? So I'm thinking let's say $25 million. They've spent $5 to $10 million, $15 million left. There's 6 people involved in it. Maybe they're all pocketing $2 or $3 million. You kind of have to claim that. I believe you just can't take that money and not claim it. Maybe it's they can get him on a lie that he defrauded. I guess I don't know the legalities of it, but I just don't see it. A guy that has over 10 million. I guess with only 10 million, maybe $1 million does mean something, but has an awful lot of exposure. I just think that they needed him as a front man because the other guys are more wheelers and dealers behind him. But again, he comes from Goldman Sachs, Hollywood, Breitbart, and he does talk well on his feet. He does seem like a guy that has some things. So has some class to him, but maybe they do. Like maybe Dustin's right. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And the only thing I can add about talking the other day about like Jake Tapper on the news, it's funny. He's trying to equate this QAnon group and people that meet them with the BLM. That the left has BLM, the right has QAnon. And if you look into what they're accused of, because he said, they're kidnapping, they're murdering, they're arsoning, and I looked it up, and in each case, it's one person, this mother, a middle-aged mother, wanted to get her son back or something from somewhere. One woman that happened to go to QAnon meetings, and somebody at the QAnon meeting helped him. This other guy, vandalized the church. He knocked down candles and stuff like that. It's a bigger deal. It's exactly 4 people, but the way they promote it in the media sounds like, they're just as bad compared to what you're seeing with BLM, where these 2 people just got shot the other night. The protesters got it's way off base. And then the other thing is this GAO I didn't get to was that they were behind when Pelosi came up with the articles of impeachment. Whatever happened to that? And then at the same time, the GAO almost in lockstep came out with him withholding money from Ukraine, which was kind of it's all political. It's a dead issue. Nothing happened with it, but they talked it up in the news. And to answer the not good enough stuff with Dustin, it's just like he's been fighting this kind of stuff. Trump, again, I believe he hasn't done as much as he said he should have by now, but you had the government, you had these guys conspiring against him. The Congress wasn't really pushing it. It looked like it, but they're gone. That Speaker of the House was moved on to a cushy job, but he didn't really push things. I think they all conspired against him on the establishment side. You know, he could do much. Maybe he can do more and put down his foot, but, and again, he could be right. But he's been fought along the way, and halfway through, they scammed out the Congress. You know, because of this Russia collusion, they're able to take over the Congress. And now we have Nancy Pelosi back doing all this crap and stuff. And again, and the last thing would be the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. I still hear that popping up, and it has something to do with the regard to the established order of succession, which doesn't, to me, make a difference. If you want to appoint somebody to the Department of Homeland Security, I could see why the Democrats would want to get in there, because they'd loosen up the border a little bit, because that's their job.
Yes.
Border, who they're letting in and stuff. It's clear to me. It's Carolyn Maloney here in New York, it looks like, and somebody else, Bernie Thompson, sent it over to this GAO, which is run by Obama, a deep state Obama appointee. Has been in there since the mid-'70s. That's like I said the other day. That's freaky how long they've been in there.
Yes.
And stuff. And they trust them. Think about how much even he's more probably political than Fauci is, lasting decades in his bureaucracy. It's Machiavellian. So,
it is.
I don't know, I'm just surprised that they got Bannon, that he would do. I think my theory is he's a front man. And to imply that who do we have? We have the guys, the best that we have to offer. We got to deal with it. Everybody.
Okay, Mark, we got to let you go.
All right, thank you.
Got to take another break for commercials. More callers waiting on the line. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Bobby in Florida. Hello, Bobby. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now. You're on the air.
Okay. Well, I'm not seeing a bunch of people rioting here. Just like, I think the news, I think that the media is the worst freaking enemy of everybody, because they create all this stuff. What if and I know you can't do it because it's unconstitutional, the media is part of it anyway. But if the media wasn't there, it's like a kid, wanting a lot of attention. We're going to go burn a city down. Well, go ahead. We're not going to film it. We're tired of filming it. Well, they're not going to burn it down. They want attention. It's all part of the whole, I don't know. It just seems like if you turn the TV on, there was puppy dogs and people gardening and stuff like that. Everybody be a lot more happier. Everywhere I go, black people are opening doors for me. It's always like that. They stop and let me pull in a parking lot. I'm not going to be hating on anybody. And it's easy to say, and what about a republic? How about a constitutional republic? I hear all this socialism and ism and communism. I like to kind of keep with what we were supposed to have, and I think it could be done without giving it another name. You just have to, fix a few things that need to be fixed there. Especially with the billionaires. We talked about that before. They shouldn't be. If we can ever fix this thing, this billionaire stuff's got to stop. Get down to the 50 million a person. Put a cap on that, because, I don't have to say anymore. But another thing I want to tell you, this COVID thing, my brother, for 7 weeks, I have a stepbrother who lives 35 miles away. I don't see him a lot. I talk to him on the phone once in a while, but my other brother here is a stepbrother. His brother tells me that he's had it for 7 weeks now. He keeps testing positive. And he told me the first 4 or 5 days of it was the worst, and then he got over it. And now his wife had it, and she doesn't have it anymore. They both work at Walmart. My neighbor's got something. It was like the runs, like, diarrhea and head and aching in the body and all for like a week. And then they were scared to go get tested. I told them not to. So there is some kind of crap, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I wish it was a lot, but there is some kind of funk going around.
Yes, there is.
And I know people who work in the medical field. My friend, he works at the hospital. For a couple of weeks ago, they had he said there was 10, 12 people in the hospital. They said they were, and he didn't see them. His mother worked at the doctor's office, and at the doctor's office, they had one person who died. She was a woman in her 50s. She did have COPD problems, breathing, and she seemed to be okay. She went to the hospital for a few days. She went home, and she thought the symptoms were all gone, and she just died. So there is, I'm sorry, but there is something going around. I'm not saying it's a pandemic. My cure to everything is take care of your immune system. Now, I think that's the way to go. That's what else can you do? But the mask thing, no. I mean, I'm still anti-mask. I'm still with you guys on all this, but there is some funk going around for sure.
Yes.
I believe it because these people are not going to lie to me, okay? I still see people walking around. It's 110 degrees outside with masks on. I just can't figure that out, man. But I'm glad it doesn't happen. All this stuff isn't happening here. Like I say, it's just hard to say nationalist, but then I don't know. There's a lot of white nationalist things. You can go in some bad alleys and take some bad turns on the internet and find some people who just say the N-word all day long. Jew. Black, like N-word. I don't want to hear that crap, man. You're not going to get anywhere with that. Some people want national socialism. Well, you know what? That's not going to work either. All right, I don't believe so. There's too many people here, and we don't want to go back to that. I personally don't want to be walking around with a swastika on me. It's just stupid. Everybody gets upset and they love it. We're all playing into their game. Here we're arguing over a black guy who shot this person or that. I think God, I don't believe in God. Goodness, I don't see that going around here, and I don't think I will either. I think a lot of this stuff is made to just turn us against each other, and it's working very well. It's working really good. So we got to stop and think about that. That box is sitting in your living room or even your computer, whatever. The stuff coming out of there that makes you angry, that's exactly what they want to do. We should be talking about growing gardens, backup power, because some stuff's coming. Yeah. They've got plans, and it's coming towards that. And that's what I've been thinking when all this started. Oh, no, get everything in a row. Start learning about gardening, growing your own food, managing with people, networking with people. I have some Puerto Rican people who live out in the kind of country I've met, and they garden, and I'm going for that, But turn that damn television off. I'll let you go, Mike. I thought I'd put that out there for you, let everybody know.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call, and we're going to switch over to Mike in Florida. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're on the air.
Well, all right. I've been listening for like 5 years, and I just figured I'd finally call in after the shooting and stuff last night.
Yeah.
I think the one percenters and there's the fake two-party politicians and the powers that be and all the little COINTELPRO 3-letter agencies and everything. They're going to try, it appears the end game of trying to trick us all into hating each other over our color or religion or whatever. And, like George Carlin said, it's one big club and we're not in it. All of us of all our different colors and everything, we have to come together. So the real battle is going to be a revolution against that 1%. We can't get tricked into fighting each other. And
well, you're right. That's what they're trying to do. It's called divide and conquer. And apparently the 1%ers must really be afraid of the rest of us because look how hard they're working to try and keep us at each other's throats.
Yeah. And I think, basically the Democrats and Republicans are on the same team, and none of them are going to do anything for any of us. And basically all I have to say, that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the phone call. And we're going to switch over to Chance in West Virginia. Hello, Chance. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Joe from Tennessee was right. I'd share a foxhole with that man any day. Bear with me because I'm still wiping a vomit off of my chin from that call from New Jersey. That's a perfect example why I left that godforsaken, wretched state of New Jersey years ago, because of the white American cowards. Let me tell you something. Make no mistake. those kind of people would give my enemy a map with directions right to my front door if I was still there. And all you patriots who live among them, get away from them. They're dangerous. Even God in the Bible says, if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. I say spew away. When the crap hits the fan, you're going to start to see the weaknesses of these people who call themselves conservatives, who only like to complain and gab away nonstop, endlessly. You'll never see a militia, repeat, you'll never see militia take a knee or wash the feet of BLM or Antifa. How dare this man say law enforcement? Law enforcement ain't going to save this country. That's proven already. How stupid can you be? These idiots who call and make these kind of comments deserve what they're going to get. Drop their drawers, bend over backwards, spread wide, and grab your ankles, because that's what they're going to get. They're cowards. That's all I got to say, Mike.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for the phone call. I'm going to switch over to James in Tokyo. Ohio Gazimus, James, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hi,
James,
Mike. I wanted to talk about
there you are.
The shooting. I wanted to talk about the shooting.
Yep.
And, the last caller and 4 callers ago, well, they were kind of, I guess, angry at Dustin. And, well, to be honest, Dustin has been anti-American about every call. He does remind me of an old lady from a Twilight Zone episode who's hiding in her basement to escape Mr. Death. He might be a little too scared about the virus, but I actually wanted to talk about the shooting because that really makes me angry. I saw the shooting of the guy who got shot in the head. Before that happened, they threw a Mazel Tov cocktail at the guy. They wanted to burn him alive. So a guy got shot in the head, and after that, while they're trying to put a scarf over his head to save his life, they were like, we got to call the police. These are people that want to eliminate the police, who are destroying everything. As far as that hero, the 17-year-old kid, he has an automatic rifle, and the idiots of Antifa are chasing a guy with an automatic rifle where one of them has a pistol. He's lucky that he shot those people and shot that guy's arm off because he would have been killed. He did nothing wrong in trying to save a gas station and these mob groups from burning down the entire neighborhood. Now, if he lived there or not, from Wisconsin or from Illinois, it doesn't matter. People have to stand up to this BLM and Antifa, and this kid's a hero, and it sickens me that he's going to be prosecuted.
Well, it sickens me that the McCloskeys are going to be prosecuted as well, because, I mean, there's clearly an agenda out there to tell people don't defend your home against these looters.
Yeah, absolutely correct. But if the police aren't going to do it for you, it gives you no choice but to do it by yourself. A good friend of mine in New York City, he had his restaurant looted, spent his whole life in that restaurant working hard, and eventually got 2 of them. But he has to leave New York now. One of them was looted to so much that he can't reopen, and the other one he can't reopen because he could only serve food outside near some hotel where they're housing convicts and drug addicts and stuff. So when the police and the government is not there to protect you, I mean, what other choice is there but to protect yourself?
Well, I'm in agreement with you, but as we're seeing with these prosecutions of the McCloskeys and so forth, and this kid from last night, the agenda coming down from the government definitely is that you don't have a right to self-defense. And if the police aren't there to protect you, well, I guess you're just out of luck.
That's it. You're out of luck. Anyway, hey, that's all I have to say, Mike. And wish you and the harp-playing angel a very nice day. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll pass that on to her. Well, let's switch over to Greg in Australia. Hello, Greg. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Mike. How you going?
Doing fine.
Mate, I've rehearsed this many times over the years, but never have I had a tone in my voice like this. Australia is under attack. I
Yes.
live in Victoria. The pandemic that they have going here is completely and utterly bogus. We had 24 people that died yesterday, equal to the most number of people that have passed in this state. And yet it got very little mention on the news for the simple fact that of those 24 people, one was a woman in her 60s, 3 were men in their 70s, 10 were people in their 90s and 80s, and 10 were people in their 90s. They are all older people, most of which are associated with aged care. The life expectancy for aged care in Australia is 40% of people will die within 9 months. We're counting people that die of old age with COVID as COVID fatalities, and as a result we have a power-mad Premier, we have a power-mad Chief Medical Officer, we have a power-mad police force, police minister, who are locking down Victoria, imposing curfews, imposing travel restrictions. Where are your papers? You can't have people round to your house. You mustn't do this, you can't do that. You can't go more than 5 kilometres from your home for most of Melbourne. Luckily, I'm on the edge of that. But this is serious. They are doing it, and it's being echoed not just in Victoria or the other states. The other states are doing similar things, not as draconian as Victoria, but it's also being echoed and supported tacitly by the federal government. So all of Australia is now under threat from this pandemic. And I've heard one of the commentators here in Australia today call it an IQ-demic, because you have to be of a certain level of IQ to actually believe the numbers that they're telling us. And honestly, it is absolutely farcical, the verbiage and the narrative that's coming out of the Premier's mouth. He has lost the plot. He is drunk on power, and he is imprisoning the Victorian people. Big media are complicit in this. You don't hear a story on the mainstream media that speaks anything but the party narrative. You don't see any big business arcing up and saying this is not right. This, well, with the exception of perhaps Qantas, our national airline carrier that lost 8,500 jobs. But business is complicit, media is complicit, sports are complicit, the medical industrial complex is complicit. It is disgusting, despicable, and it has to stop. And anyone who is in Australia listening to this call, you need to get active now, because if you don't, this will come to your state, and it will come soon, and it will come hard. And I don't know what their end game is, but all I do know is I have a terrible, terrible feeling of trepidation in my stomach.
It does sound serious, and we have been reading a lot of articles about what's going on down there and just how completely draconian it is. And certainly stands in sharp contrast with Sweden, which basically treated this whole COVID-19 with a shrug and seemed to have come through it fairly unscathed.
And even if you compare, say, France and places like that, a lot of places in Europe have a great increase in cases, but very little increase in mortality, because they're either treating it better or there's some form of herd immunity. So this is a storm in the teacup, and the Premier who helped draft our state of emergency, and we've actually gone past the state of emergency, we're now in a state of disaster. He actually helped draft it with a 6-month sunset clause, now wants to extend it past the 6 months, which is due to
for a year.
Finish on the 9th, the 13th for another year, and they're now debating whether it will be a year or whether it will be 6 months, or whether we'll have a little committee to look over the oversight. In the meantime, a police officer can come to my house, enter my house without warrant, take me away without warrant, seize any part of my property without cause, just because they think so. The police minister can actually overturn any law in Victoria should they want to.
Greg, stay on the line. I got to put you on hold. We got to take a break for commercials. I want to finish up this story. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're finishing up with Greg in Australia, who's telling us that the draconian anti-COVID measures down there include the police being able to enter your home without a warrant, take you away without a warrant, confiscate any of your property they feel is contaminated. My question would be, how do we know the police entering your home aren't carrying the COVID-19 virus?
Well, that's been a big point of contention down here in Australia. They keep telling us how many people have got the COVID virus and have died from the COVID virus. However, they haven't said that one police officer, one ambulance officer, one medical professional, one checkout chick and these people are dealing with the public all day, every day, especially the medical and the ambos. They're dealing with people who are sick, and not one of them has died. And it seems in Australia we've lost something like 500 people. Only 13 of them have been under the age of 60. So it's obviously not a deadly pandemic, and they're still beating it up like it's the most deadly, contagious thing you've ever seen. It is a big hoax. It is planned. It is by design, and I've used the word lockstep. I'm actually in the process of calling every one of our 128 state representatives. I've done about 101 of them, and I'll finish that up today, expressing my views in no uncertain terms to let them know that we cannot let this state of emergency go one moment longer. The police minister actually has the power in her hands to suspend any law in Victoria. So even if we do manage to get the Premier not to be able to have the sunset clause changed by Parliament, the police minister can then, by her fiat, decide that that law is no longer in the interests of public health and can suspend that law, and a state of emergency and hence the state of disaster can be extended forever, for as long as they possibly want. It is disgusting, it's disgraceful, it's un-Australian, it's undemocratic, and it's pretty bloody close to treason for mine.
All right. Well, listen, I wish you a lot of luck down there. And, if they get away with it down there, they're going to be doing it up here as well. So thank you for the phone call, Greg. We're going to let you go. And we're going to go to Al in West Virginia. Al, welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Al, are you there? All right.
I'm calling back in. It's Dustin. I
Hello,
call
Dustin.
I got to respond to Australia and stuff. If you're 60 years old, you would be, complaining because you'd be worried. But Mike, people calling in call me unpatriotic. Come on, I've been calling for a long time. How can you say that? Mike, I've been calling since John from people calling and saying I'm unpatriotic. Mike, I'm going to call in tomorrow. I'm very upset. Have a good night.
Okay, well, thanks an awful lot. Okay, it was a contentious day on the phones, no doubt about that. We're keeping an eye on Hurricane Laura, and as a matter of fact, we're getting a thunderstorm over us right now. And according to Hal Turner, the storm may actually reach Cat 5 before it hits landfall, which is expected at 1 a.m. Central Time tonight. Anyway, there's the music. It's time for us to end this show. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We need all of your help. And besides, this weekend's my birthday. So send your good wishes along with that. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.